Projecting and mind reading. What does that mean? I know what that means now. My divorce was finalized about 1.5 years ago, and I realized how much I'd been subjected to those two things. There's others, but we'll just cover these two right now. It's great to identify them and be able to know what they are. Then you can protect yourself. You can also make sure that you don't do it. So, projecting. It's something, there's better explanations, but I just have my experience and my understanding of it. It's been very helpful to me from what I've learned. People like Ross Rosenberg go into this, Lisa Romano, a bunch of other people. It's all on YouTube. If you just look up codependency or, you know, healthy relationships. Dr. John Lundsford goes into this area pretty in depth, which is a lot of good, helpful information on healthy versus toxic behaviors. But, okay, so projection is when, you know, it's like if somebody's a thief, they will automatically assume that everyone around them is a thief. So you will be accused of stealing when you didn't steal. The reality is they're the ones that stole. So in my relationship, I would work my tail off, leave the house at 7 in the morning, get home at 7 at night, 12-hour day if you count the drive to and from work of just working. It was rare that I'd even take a lunch. I mean, I'm just busting my butt, making a good living. My wife was a stay-at-home mom, thank goodness. My kids had a great, beautiful house that they lived in. We had 2 cars. I mean, you know, and I'm working my tail off to provide this. So I'd come home. I'm the most loyal dude I know. It's just not an issue. There's never been a time where I've, you know, that's just that's a attribute that I have. I don't cheat on my girlfriend or my wife. I can't think of a time in my whole life that's ever even happened. Certainly didn't happen in my marriage. Not even close, not even once. So I would come home with accusations of infidelity all the time. And it was, I mean, after a while, I mean, I got offered an opportunity at work to take on a huge account, which would have been a massive financial benefit for my family and for me. And I had to turn it down because when I asked my wife, she says, no, you can't travel because you'll cheat on me. And it just started to hit me like there's no merit to these accusations. And I finally said, you know, why, like, you know, I'd come home at 7 at night, you know, get off work at 6:30, whatever, get home at 7. She's like, why were you at work so late? What, were you talking to other girls? Like, it just was so ridiculous at a certain point, so asinine and absurd. And, you know, I was like, what is it that you're doing? It made me start to think, because there were some issues with her where she was talking to other guys, admittedly, more so than she should be. I say guys, plural. This happened, and it, you know, this was years prior. And so I just on my own started to realize, you know what? This is about you. It's not about me. And that turned out to be the case. It was solidified. Once we got divorced, you know, went through some phone records, saw some things. You know, it boom, made perfect sense. Documented, proven. She was the one out there doing things that wasn't in line with, you know, her moral compass, and therefore she would project it onto me and assume the same from me. So that's projecting. That's my example. I'm sure there's better ones. And then mind reading was something else that I was subjected to in this relationship, probably other ones too, but definitely in this relationship. So an example of mind reading is even something as simple as saying, no, you're lying, where I wasn't lying. It's very frustrating to have somebody say, no, you're lying. So how do you know I'm lying when I know that I'm not? And, well, you know, and there's no proof. Here, another one could say, well, if you don't love me, right? That's how do you know I don't love you? You can read my mind. Or assigning motives. Assigning motives is another mind reading tactic where they'll say, no, you didn't do it because of this. You did it because of that. Or I know why you did it. You did it for this reason. How frustrating is that? So they can understand and assign what your motives are. So there was a lot of that in my relationship too. So again, I'm sure there's better examples, but those were the two. So as you get better, what I've noticed in my recovery, 11 years without drinking and drugging is one thing, but drinking and drugging are often a symptom of the problem. The problem for me is I had a horrible traumatic upbringing. I'm sure there's just all types of neglect. Well, I know there's neglect, but like PTSD and codependency. I'm sure I had some narcissistic characteristics, way more so when I was out there drinking and using, but now I absolutely resonate more with what I'm learning about codependency as far as, you know, the dynamic I played in my relationships. I had no boundaries And it's just so great to start learning about these things and what they are. You know, I could cover gaslighting a little bit. I was trying to think of some very particular examples before our recording here, but gaslighting is basically something will happen and they'll deny it, or, you know, twist it into something that it wasn't, where you know you were hurt. You know what happened at the moment hurt you, and when you bring it up and try to find resolve to it, they make it like gray. They're like, oh no, that's not what happened. Well, oh, you took it that way? That's not what I meant. Or, oh, you know, so they'll throw an emotional outburst that'll just make you never want to bring it up again. So when something happens, if you get accused of something you didn't do, or you get, you know, could be a name they called you, or any form of abuse, and you bring it up and they deny, they lie, they reject it, they, you know, point it back at you. So that's gaslighting in a general sense. There was a ton of that as well. Like people, especially who are narcissistic, their egos are so big that they can never take accountability for their actions. It's maddening. And, you know, I think all of us as humans have defects in our character, and if we're willing to communicate through them and work through them and be brave enough to say, you know what, I may be wrong. You know, I thought for years I was the narcissist in my marriage because she told me I was the narcissist. And I was like, oh, cool, thanks for telling me. You know, now I can fix it. And I remember going to my men's group saying, hey, I'm a narcissist. That's great to know. Now I can work on healing from that. And then we went and saw a professional. He's like, no, it's the other way around. He actually assigned her that it wasn't a full diagnosis, but there were some personality disorders that are very akin and cousin to actual narcissistic personality disorders that he said she had, not me. So, you know, I think in that scenario, I'm glad that I'm at a point in my life where I'm capable of accountability, because in my experience in recovery, as long as I can acknowledge the problem, I can start to fix it. So it's like, it's a relief to know, oh, okay, good, there's the problem. So it turns out I'm definitely, at least where I'm at thus far, I line up more with the codependency stuff. So I hope that helps with the mind reading, the projection, and touched on gaslighting a little bit. Learn about that stuff. Don't do it. Don't put up with it. And hopefully this helps you. Thanks.